Scene 81 rehearsal?
Maria finds Andrew alone in the back of the limo. It's dark.
FMV games for a long time have not been the most successful or even popular among the various genres in video games. Partly due to the stigma carried over from the FMV games from the early days, and partly due to the genre being a tricky beast to tackle to begin with. This is due to the very nature of FMVs or full motion videos, which lack the level of interactivity that a fully realized 3D game world can offer the player. As a result, FMVs have been rarely implemented in games in meaningful ways, much less building a game around the medium itself. All of that changed with Her Story, the critically acclaimed game from Sam Barlow, which broke the mold on how games can be made purely around FMVs. This game's critical success made way to the equally endearing Telling Lies, which was also well received. After two successful games, known for their unique sense of intrigue and suspense, the team, now with the publishing muscle of Netflix, have delivered one of their most ambitious games yet with Immortality, and it may well be the best of the bunch. This is the review of Immortality.
What is your name?
Marissa Marcel.
Ah, yes, from the advertisement. I bought the soap. How old are you, dear?
17 and 10 months.
At its core, Immortality is a narrative-driven game with a unique approach to storytelling. It has limited yet effective gameplay mechanics, with a soundtrack that suits the game perfectly and performances that are on par with some of the best acted material out there, including TV and cinema. Like Barlow's other games, Immortality is designed around one of the very basic human qualities: curiosity. The story is presented like a scattered jigsaw puzzle, which the player needs to put together in order to get the full picture, both literally and figuratively. While this may sound like an old and tried out concept on paper, it is the execution that makes Immortality one of the most gratifying games in recent times.
We see Maria. She's checked her coat. We truly see her now. She looks like a goddess. And she dances.
Immortality's story revolves around Marissa Marcel, a model turned actress whose journey is followed by the player over a period of around 30 years. There is a lot that happens in this capsule of time, including the discovery of Marissa as an actress and the 3 movies that feature her in significant roles that were never released. The player is provided with a number of found footage type videos that capture these events. These videos are a mix of footage from rehearsals, table reads, shoots, interviews, and real interactions between all of them, and it is up to the player to put these pieces together. The videos play out in a non-linear fashion, and the tools available in the game lets us pause, rewind, and forward the footage, helping us look for clues. It is during this process that we get introduced to a character known only as the One. Unlike other characters in the game, the One sometimes seems to break the fourth wall and speaks directly to the player.
Sometimes because we're tired.
Over time, the amount of footage found revealed 3 distinct movies, of which Marissa was a part of, the various characters involved with these movies, and the off-screen drama that takes place in each of these ventures. The first movie, shot in the late 60s, is one that explores human vulnerabilities and vices, with a story set in a religious and historical backdrop in a European city. The second is a 70s-style murder mystery that follows the death of a famous artist and the drama and tension between the characters that take place during the investigation that follows. The third movie, set in the late 90s, sees Marissa take on dual roles, one of a pop star and the other of her body double, in a story that explores the prejudices of fame and how it ties their lives in unexpected ways. The game effortlessly tackles some very sensitive and adult themes, using these 3 movies as a vessel to drive them. But as fascinating as these stories are, the real reason we are here is to uncover the mystery behind these films. Why were they never released? What happened to Marissa since? Who is the One? And how does Marissa never age in 30 years? It is in subtle yet glaring details like these where the player is given a whiff of the greater picture. Sharing any more of the story will venture into spoiler territory, so I'll stop here. But I do have to mention that the game's narrative is one of its strongest aspects. This is a complex story with multiple layers that reveal themselves as the player progresses through, often subverting expectations.
Fresh talent. So he put the word out and saw, how many was it?
10,000?
Oh, I think it was over 20,000.
20,000. He saw 20,000 girls, and long story short, he picked you.
Yes.
Having said all that, getting to the intriguing bits of the game did take some time, at least in my playthrough, as the game restrains itself from providing any additional clues other than the tutorial on how to use the available tools at hand. I eventually understood why this decision was made and was glad that the developers made this choice. However, until that point, I struggled to push through the game as a player and as an audience. You see, the game starts with the introduction of Marissa in a late night talk show where the player is taken through the mechanics of the game, the most substantial of which is the image-based search option. The footage can be stopped at any moment and the player enters an image search mode at the press of a button. Highlighting an object or a person and selecting it will result in the presentation of a different video with the same person or a similar object. This does initially make you feel like a detective looking through footage to crack a case. But upon diving into the rabbit hole of clicking images and gathering new clips, sometimes circling back to an already found video, what I eventually found was a good number of video clips chronicling the production of 3 movies and all the events in between them. And to be fair, all of this was really compelling stuff. But I started to question myself on what was the point of it all. Here I was playing detective, not knowing what the case was to begin with, until one moment while I was watching a random clip, and this happened.
How did you get in here?
People sell their immortal souls.
It was a moment of clarity, and what once looked like an insufficient toolset made the most sense. The act of play in Immortality is driven by the player's curiosity, and the game provides just the right amount of mechanics such that the player reveals the layers of the story on their own accord. From a gameplay perspective, the game provides just the right amount of interactivity and thus just the right amount of power to the player.
Can you talk about what happened with your previous movie?
Now, I'm sure everyone here has read about this or heard the gossip. I was making a movie in New York.
Your first as director?
Yes. At the time, I'd done quite a bit of work as a director of photography.
With a gameplay mechanic like this, it is of paramount importance that the player remains curious until the end of the journey. Thankfully, the cast and crew of the game are more than capable of keeping you invested, from the lead actor who plays Marissa to the actor who plays the One, and generally everyone involved have done a fantastic job on their respective roles. The lead in particular is extremely impressive, switching characters rather effortlessly between her on-screen persona and her actual personality on hearing cut. The videos themselves are presented in various styles denoting different eras of filming. Each era has multiple styles of videos, each distinct from one another for rehearsals, shoots and interviews to name a few. All of these clips are so true to their form and time period that the player never has trouble distinguishing what is on screen, and this goes a long way in providing clarity to the player in understanding these events, a trait which is key to unraveling the center mystery of the game. The sound design too evolves with the video on screen and mimics the quality of each type of video flawlessly, while also providing a soundtrack for the player simultaneously when they scour through the videos. The sound design also plays a vital role in throwing hints at the player in key moments. The amount of talent seen on screen clearly shows that this game was crafted by people who are passionate about their respective roles, right from the actors, to the set design, to the editing, to the programmers, and everything in between. Immortality is creator Sam Barlow's best game yet. This is a well-produced, well-acted game with a story that will have you guessing and leave you thinking after you finish the game. It may not be for everyone, but for the ones interested in this type of game, it is quite the treat. If this is a sign of things to come from Netflix published games, I'm more than excited to see what comes next. And I hope this partnership continues so Sam Barlow and his team can release another banger in the next couple of years. But for now, if you're even remotely interested in FMV or narrative-driven games, go check out Immortality. And that was a review. So, have you played Immortality? If so, what are your thoughts on the game? Or any FMV games in general? Are you excited for the next game from the same team? Sound off in the comments, let's have a conversation going. Until then, I'm Ishaq and this video was brought to you by ICSI. You take care, stay safe and keep gaming.
You and me got two of everything.